Here we have Kim here and Sherry.
Hi, Sherry.
Howdy, everybody.
And we need 6, right? And we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And Patrick called me this morning and said, can you just run down the agenda? I cannot get away. I've got stuff to do here with the Marines and it's just not going to work out. So, I mean, it'll be easy for me just to go down this agenda, talk about stuff.
Okay.
But hopefully.
So he's not going to be here at all, this meeting, Patrick?
No.
Okay.
He just could not make it.
Yeah.
I know, he's so good at running meetings. I mean, Sue was wonderful. And then when she left, I thought, oh no, but then he just is doing a great job.
Yeah, he's really keeps it online, keeps it very efficient. Absolutely.
And he's very positive.
Yeah, he is. That's true.
Yeah. Oh,
I
here
need to
she
run
is.
grit real quick. I'll be right back there. Honest, I'll come back.
Okay, please.
Yeah. And so, yeah, in the email exchange that was going on, Paula said that she's got a medical thing today.
Oh, okay. I did not see that.
Yeah.
Oh, here we've got 6 because Dax is here. Dax, Shelby, Matt. Let me write it down.
How's everyone doing?
Hey, Dax.
Hello.
Cindy and Sherry and Greg, Danny, Marsha. Gosh, I haven't seen Maria in a long time. Does anybody know how she's doing? No?
No, I don't. That'd be good. She was down in LA for a long time with health issues, wasn't she?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I saw her. Yeah, maybe it's been 6 weeks or so ago.
Oh, okay.
It's been a while, but
It's been a while for me too. How did the meeting go on Saturday? My husband had a surgery in the Bay Area, so I couldn't be here.
It was pretty good. We had about maybe 25 people, something like that.
Wow.
yeah, really
Okay.
small. Beautiful day. You know what I mean? So,
It was a beautiful day. Yeah.
and not a whole lot on terms of the agenda. So it was an easy one to say you could not show up for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, should we start?
Sure.
Okay. So it says roll call. So I'm trying to remember, do I actually call your names? I guess so the people taking minutes can tell. Okay, Danny.
Present.
Greg.
I'm here.
Sherry. Oh, you're muted, Sherry. Unmute.
I think I saw her walking away.
Yeah. She's actually a community member representative. She's not
There she is.
during
Yeah.
community.
Right.
There she's
But I'll
not.
put her down as
I am
she's
here.
in attendance. And Kim is here. Matt
Yeah.
and Shelby. Shelby, you're muted.
Here.
Great. And Dax.
Here.
All right. And then I'm here. Marcia's here.
Great.
Okay. So he sent around the agenda.
Who's the represented by Dixie Fire Collaborative? Who's just that? Is that just?
I think that might be Taylor.
That's Taylor. Yep.
Yeah. I was thinking, how am I going to let people into the meeting? But that's been
Okay.
Taylor. That's
So he
been-
launched the
I'm
meeting.
monitoring,
Okay.
but I'm going to step out.
okay. Yeah. And he's doing the recording and all that.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you. All right, so approval of the agenda. So everybody looked at this agenda. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve it?
All motion to approve.
Okay. Anyone like to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, Greg. All in favor?
I
All right.
Aye. Okay. All right, and then the approval of the June 17th. Oh, any opposed? Sorry. Anybody opposed to the agenda? No. Then we have the approval of the June 17th, 2024 meeting minutes. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve that?
I'll do it.
So Greg makes a motion, and who would like to second it? I don't know if I can second or not. Since
I can
I'll
second it.
second Dax.
Okay, Matt. Oh, was that Dax?
Yeah, I heard Dax.
Okay. All right. So all in favor, raise your
I have a
hand.
question.
Sure.
What minutes did you say you were approving?
The meeting minutes from last month.
Okay, because thought I heard the wrong date. So anyway, June 3rd minutes.
Oh, approval of June 17th meeting minutes. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's today.
right. So it
How
should
can
be
we
June
approve them
30th.
if we haven't done it? So it
Right.
must be, he got it, the
Yeah.
one that was 2 weeks ago. You are very quick up there, Danny.
Yeah,
Oh, you're just reading what's there. So yeah, I understand.
Okay. So that would have been the the June 3rd. Let's make a change to that. That would be the June 3rd. Okay, so if all in favor of approving the June 3rd minutes, raise your hand.
Aye.
Hi, Dax.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Is there any public input?
I don't have anything to add at this time.
All right, good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
All right, then we're going to talk about the disaster case management program funding extension discussion. So we discussed it last time, and there was a concern about funding the North Valley Catholic Charities because it was $330,000 going to help 12 people. And that was a concern. That was so few people. Is there anybody that would like to further discuss that?
I have a concern about funding PRS or the disaster case managers from PRS as well.
You were concerned about PRS as well?
Yeah, I if nobody else wants to speak up, in the email thread that was going around on on the notes and stuff, Paula said that I think that they had now up to 130 something people that were applying for the Recover California grant.
Mm-hmm.
But they've all been vetted, she said. So I asked some questions in it. And she said they've all been vetted. So they all have the income. If they got the grant money, they could afford to live in the house, right? You got to pay taxes, you got to pay all of this stuff. So they've been vetted. So today I sat down and filled out the form myself while I was in a restaurant eating breakfast. It took me 30 minutes to fill out the form. There's 7 documents that are required. I didn't upload those documents. I could find them pretty quickly, but not everybody could. I understand that. So I called the phone number and talked to the Recover California grant people. And they have case managers there. You sign up. I mean, like I said, it took me half an hour to fill out the entire form, right? And 7 documents they want. A driver's license, proof that you were living in the house that got destroyed. Realistically, someone who knows what they're doing and how they're finding that stuff, how to find that stuff, and has experience, I think that's maybe 2 hours worth of work for somebody. And you can do it over the phone. You could do it in person if you go down to Butte County. And then they said, how long does the process take? She said about a year. But that's a year of waiting. It's not a year of work. It's not a year. I mean, you're just waiting for the bureaucracy to grind through. I think $130,000. I mean, I think housing is really, really important. But I think if the disaster case managers really buckled down, they could wrap this up by August. And other than that, we're funding to duplicate efforts that are already available to us for free. I mean, so I don't see why we're doing that. It doesn't make sense.
I know, and Paul is not here. I
No.
know that there are other things that the disaster case managers do besides help people sign up for Recover California.
Yeah, I understand that. But I mean, how long are like, again, have someone who almost died in a fire, lost his home twice, how long, what's in the way of getting you on your feet? And I'm thinking that there's got to be other issues besides either the disaster case managers aren't being very effective in their job, or there's other issues that are in the way that need to be addressed. Like, I don't know what, you know what I mean? Like, but it just seems like.
So Kim, can you speak? Yeah, could you speak to that?
I can't speak to that. And I know there's a few people on this call that maybe haven't met me yet. I think Greg and Danny, we may not have met, maybe we met virtually, but I work with North Valley Community Foundation,
Mhm.
and we're your fiscal agent, but we're also a funder for Dixie Fire. And my experience comes from, I came on board with the foundation after the Camp Fire. And I've been working on that disaster for 5 years. And then for the last 3 years, I think I've been working on the Bear North Complex Fire. And then the last couple of years, trying to help you all with the Dixie Fire.
Mhm.
And I will tell you, the work that disaster case managers do is absolutely incredible. And we have people in Butte County, and I believe probably up in Plumas County, that would not have fully recovered without the help of a disaster case manager. It's not just about them helping someone fill out a form. It's a whole lot more than that. It's walking through the entire process with somebody. And granted, Greg, it sounds to me like you're an incredibly capable individual. The problem with disasters is the people who seem to be the most affected for the longest period of time. And we are still funding case management. I don't want to freak you out by saying this, but we're still funding case management 5 years out after the Camp Fire, because there are still people. Literally, we did a home opening on Friday of a woman who, it's been 5 years and she finally got back into her home with the help of a disaster case management, the construction cost endless, and it was a volunteer rebuild, because a lot of these people that need help are your vulnerable populations. They're the population that doesn't have access to a computer or doesn't have the internet, or they're not comfortable doing all that work. Oftentimes what case management does is, once a person gets their fire settlement or their Recover California money, or, we've got Town of Paradise money, we've got lots of different sources, it doesn't stop there. They still need help working with the contractors to make sure that that person's not being taken advantage of, to make sure that the work's being done. The construction cost analysts, go on site and they look and they go, oh yeah, this is what you're paying for. Oh yeah, that's, because as you know, there's people that kind of come from the outside and maybe don't care for your community in the same way. It's a small percentage of your population that will need case management, and it's not about coming to the unmet needs committee and getting that money and helping someone get a $5,000 or $10,000 grant. It's really about helping them understand, okay, yes, you have access to Recover California, you can get that. Have you filled out your paperwork for PG&E? It's the entire process. It's about helping them get back in their home. You were mentioning, Danny, about getting a bed, and they work with our Inspire Hope program here in Butte County to get things that have been donated by Costco. There's so many things that they do, and your community has been much more resilient than us in Butte County, as far as, I think, kind of being able to do more stuff on your own, or just being, kind of more like, we're going to figure this out. But in my mind, our committee has reviewed both of these two proposals, because we do have funding still available. Unfortunately, not as much, because we're not exactly sure what our grant is going to be to Greenville Rancheria for the health center rebuild. So we've got to set that money aside. But our committee does feel very comfortable in continuing to fund disaster case management, but for just one agency. And we believe that agency needs to be local. We believe that Plumas Rural Services what we've seen compared to other disaster case management is they've done a really good job in working with clients. And oftentimes cases they close reopen again because maybe they got that person a trailer, so they close the case. And then a really hard winter comes, or you have another fire up there, and or something happens with that trailer, and it, you know, oftentimes they close cases and they have to reopen them because the person's not in a stable living situation. And yes, Recover California may have case managers. They're not going to understand your community, the environment up there, what they need. In my mind, and at this point, what I'm bringing forward is that we're more than happy to share this proposal with you. So we would be looking to match the funding of the $129,462. But we think pulling out disaster case management right in the middle of your prime building season and your prime, like people are finally getting their PG&E settlements, they know what they have. We think it would be a bit of a disservice to your community. And like I said, it's the most vulnerable people. It's a lot of those people that probably weren't doing really well prior to the fire.
Oh, I absolutely believe that.
And they probably weren't in the best living situation. And we don't use the FEMA formula that we want to bring everyone back to their pre-disaster living condition, because oftentimes that wasn't the best living condition. We want survivors to be back in safe, stable housing. So we at our foundation do think continuing disaster case management with one agency that is local. And I've been really clear, Northern Valley Catholic Social Services has done a great job in Butte County, and their case managers are phenomenal. And we really support them in what they do. And I know I saw a thread about being Catholic Charities. I don't see any religious
Yeah, I don't either.
guilt to that at all. They're there to help people. But I think, and I appreciate North Valley Catholic Social Services coming forward these last couple years and helping your community, but we can't afford to continue both agencies. And I do think Plumas Rural Services can handle it. I think there's probably going to be some more clients that maybe were served by NVCSS that may come back around and still need some help with you all. So I don't know, at least our committee felt that six more months of funding could be very appropriate. And then at that time, you guys will have a really good handle of how many homes got rebuilt, how many people are in permanent living situations. But I think to just pull all help out right now for people as of August 15th or whatever, when you still have a couple good, months before winter hits again, we think 6 more months. And to be honest with you, this amount of $130,000 to keep these 3 people employed is actually a very reasonable budget compared. We've spent millions and millions and millions of dollars paying for case management because a lot of these agencies have a lot of overhead and they're expensive. We think the proposal you got from PRS looks good to us compared to what we funded. You should probably see what they're getting from FEMA. I'm sure they're getting a whole different ballgame. But anyhow, that's our take on it. And that's kind of what I'm here to say at this stage.
One of
Yeah.
the concerns last time was that I think Paula said that they were going to be able to help 56 people with the amount they were asking for. And then Cindy said that they'd be able to help 12. And so we were just, balancing that. And some people were saying, well, what about if they gave the 12 to PRS, who seems to be able to help more people with less money? And we didn't know, we weren't sure how that was going to work, if that was even possible.
Typically what happens is Northern Valley Catholic Social Services, if you guys choose not to fund them and we choose not to fund them, we're giving them plenty notice. They will work on transferring their cases to PRS if we both choose to continue to fund PRS. We had 8 different agencies doing case management here in Butte County after the Camp Fire. We're down to 1 now. And so they're very used to transferring cases over. And all of this information, we're all paying for ETO, which is the database where all these notes and everything have been kept. So a case manager who gets transferred a case should be able to see, here's who they worked with, here's the help they've gotten so far, here's what was offered to them. And and have that information. So I would think PRS should be able to handle whatever workload North Valley Catholic Social Services gives to them.
Some people, oh, Greg,
Just one thing, I mean, because obviously we're dealing with the most vulnerable population. My question would be, how much continuing help are they going to need? Like after $130,000 is spent, are they coming back for more? And if so, where's that funding coming from? And this particular pot of money, should it go towards something that like is a broader reach for the community, or are we going to just really focus on the most unfortunate? Or, I mean, there's other people that are yakking at me on who else is getting funding for this, but something that's going to go to like to benefit across the whole spectrum of the community. And if so, I mean, wouldn't there be, I mean, isn't there other sources of funding besides this particular pot of money?
To pay for staffing, I would say probably not. To pay for, to find resources like with Recover California or helping them with their PG&E settlement, yes. And if there's an unmet needs roundtable, there would, your disaster is a little bit different because everyone has the ability to get a PG&E settlement if they lost their home. But that doesn't mean they still don't need case management to help them figure out how to rebuild or how to get into a stable situation. But they should have the money to rebuild, I would think, unless I know there's been a few cases of people who are like, I'm not going to do the PG&E lawsuit. Well, then that, in my mind, then we can't give that person unmet needs money because they're making a choice to walk away from resources.
right. Yeah, the other, oh, here we go, Matt. Oh, you're muted.
One other point I was trying to make previously was that I think that the effectiveness of spending by giving money directly to recipients is often more efficient than having kind of bureaucrats in the middle. Now, I understand that this is not just about giving things to these people, it's like services. But if we were to support this at the 130,000 level, I would also want us to give maybe like $2,000 to each of those people to like additional, that's 43 people, so another 86,000. I just know that when someone receives like money that they can spend on their own thing, often it's just, I mean, the evidence from universal basic income trials is that people are often very responsible with how they spend kind of this free money that comes, and I believe that. I've seen the evidence, and of the 136,000, most of that's going to be spent on the cost of wages and that kind of stuff, and that has value. But I also think that because we've identified these people with needs or who are poor or needy or whatever, that we have the opportunity to give them directly money, which I think will be much more effective. So I would support probably like the combination of the two, so that we can really help these people, you know, and really put that back. And their needs will probably be ongoing. I mean, you've got a lot of people who were poor before the fire, this continue poor. Being poor in America is really tough, you know, and often those, though there are programs out there, free food or free healthcare, whatever, but the bureaucracy and admin and the paperwork to get on these programs is often very, very hard. You know, you have to have tax returns and all these things, and people don't have it. So I understand the value of that kind of working with people to access these programs and get back on their feet. I also understand the value of actually giving them free, like directly giving them money. And I think we should take the opportunity of having identified these people to actually put some cash in their hand, because we've got cash. And I just don't feel that it's going to be the most efficient way of giving it through these committees of kind of round tables and stuff. It just seems so convoluted and so bureaucratic way of someone actually spending money. I'd just rather give the money to them and let them spend it. So I would support both PRS and also funding PRS. In addition, another $2,000 per needy person, so another whatever, 43 times 2, 86. Because then they're really empowered, you know. Then those case managers are like, oh wow, you can call these guys up and say, hey, I've got $2,000 for you. I mean, they'll probably be really happy to get that. And anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Greg?
I think Danny had his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Danny?
Yes, I think just roll back real quick. I'm well in support of only one disaster case management and looking at the budget and what the personnel behind that, you know, the number of people that are there to support the people who need the support. To me, it's like kind of obvious. And I think everybody else is on it that we should look at having Plymouth Rural Services go forward and focus on a single disaster case management group. That being said, I don't think that we should voluntarily put out there and say, here's, you know, extra dollars cash for people who are in need. I think that's part of what disaster case management looks at and has people there. We can talk with that and maybe work through ideas of how that might be funneled, but not say automatically, here's additional funds, because there was a lot of funds that was handed out early on, very early on. I myself got funds directly right within a week or so or less of Dixie Fire. And granted, there are people needing more money ongoing and going forward in time. And I know that, and that's what disaster case management helps identify those people, identify that need and help them to move forward. So I'd say I'm supportive one and not in support of the second aspect that Matt's bringing up. Unless it, you know, empower the disaster case managers to look at that, but don't say automatically, here's X dollars that's going to go to those people that they have. So then we would have to add $2,000 for anybody else that gets identified. And also the money that's coming from, or the people that are coming from North Valley Community Catholic Community Services, is that we're gonna have to give those to them too? So I just think it's opening up a can, as they say, of worms. That's
Yeah.
my piece.
Okay, Greg?
Yeah, not only would the community go crazy on that, but I mean, $2,000, what are you gonna do? You can't buy even a decent used car with that. Yeah, I mean, you can't do a down payment on a house. The community that we're talking about is the most vulnerable, probably not the best money managers. You know, in all honesty, I don't want to stereotype people, but I'm going to right now. I know that like people like down in Paradise, people got some money and it's like they were in the casino the next day. You know what I mean? Like, so I just think that's a very bad idea. I mean, I think funding PRS is a better idea than giving $2,000 to people. I mean, because what are you going to do with it? You could pay rent for a month and then your neighbors come over and go, hey, you know, and let's have a party. You know what I mean? And what about me? Can you loan me some money? You just got rich. And I mean, I think that's a really bad idea. Plus the community would be outraged by it. A big chunk of the community would be really outraged. So.
Oh, you're muted.
I do have to say that one of the things I've learned in my short time in the disaster business is giving cash directly as relief, right? When someone is going through a disaster is an appropriate thing. But fairly soon after you hit a point where at least people, Red Cross, United Way, Salvation Army, all these agencies that do a lot of disaster work. And we've gone to great length to not directly give people cash, Matt, because if someone comes in and says, I need money for XYZ, we're like, okay, we see that is. And then our Campfire Collaborative, actually, who we give the funds to, they go buy that item for that person. If you need a bed and a couch and a table for your new home because you just got in, you don't have any money for furniture, great. So there comes a point where we don't do any funding at all directly to individuals. It always goes to the third party payee. Even if we say that we've found a stable living situation for you, the case manager, and you need help with 6 months of rent, we'll pay that directly to the landlord, or we'll pay the deposit directly to the landlord, just because I think Greg and Danny. I mean, I agree. Unfortunately, you're just not sure where it goes. And so many times we've heard stories from people of, oh yeah, I got my PG&E settlement, but you know, my nephew has a drug problem and he ended up in jail and I needed to bail him out. Or just the stories go on and they're really unfortunate and they're really sad, but then they don't help the people to recover.
Right.
And what you guys want to do is you want to help your neighbors to recover.
Those are all good points. Does anybody else have any thoughts about this?
It looks
Can I-
like Sherry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jerry and Dax.
Yeah, I had my hand up. Let's see. First of all, I think I'm in support of funding PRS. I don't remember if it was the last meeting or the one before. At one point, I asked Paula if she thought that disaster case management would need funding beyond the 6 months they requested, and she told me she did not think that they would be requesting further funding beyond this. It seems like PRS, as far as disaster case management goes, PRS is doing a good job, and this seems like a pretty good value for the work that they're proposing. So I'm in favor of funding PRS. To speak to Matt's idea about direct payments, I'm generally in favor of that idea. However, I think we would really need to think about how that would work and maybe work out the details a little bit more with that. And yeah, I think there is the potential for a lot of community fallout, just knowing how our community can be. So I think if we wanted to pursue that, which I'm not opposed to, but I do think that would need a lot of fleshing out and real careful consideration. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Yeah, I know where Matt is coming from. You know, we're just giving people help and letting them decide how to help themselves. But I think it would be a lot easier for them to do that through a disaster case manager who would, like Kim said, that they would, I don't know. We talked about it last time, but not giving them cash, but just finding out what they need and then helping them get that might be better.
Marcia, could I add a comment?
Yes, I'd love it.
So two things. Like Dax, I heard Paula say that the last time the steering committee funded disaster case managers, that was for 6 months, and they were going to try to sort of wrap things up. That would be the last extension. But this is pretty nice with North Valley Community Foundation once again offering to cover half the costs. That makes it easier for the steering committee. My question there would be, so how long do we need to continue? Is this something that we should actually think is going to happen for several more years, and we should budget for disaster case managers? And Kim would be better able to answer that. My other comment is, when I read the mission statement, half of it is on unmet needs. The other half says that we will help with rebuild and recovery. And looking at your budget, hopefully, since most of the money has gone to unmet needs so far, not all, but most of it, as we transition, we've talked about the transition to doing more on rebuilding and recovery. I just am interested in how the steering committee is looking at budgeting the money that you have left.
Yeah. Oh, Greg?
I think that's a really big point. That we're not putting money into building an economy. I mean, for one, like, how long is this going to go on? Like, in my conversation with the person from Recover California today, it's a year before these things even get decided. And so, Kim said that, like, you got to have, so that's before they even break ground, before they get any money to break ground, it's going to take a year. Then, as Kim said, okay, well, these people aren't really good managers. I mean, Lord knows building a house and managing that is a really, really big deal. You don't want unscrupulous contractors. So then someone's going to have to supervise that. And so now we're funding, and then it takes a couple of years to build a house. It doesn't just like fly together. I mean, a lot of these people may not be alive by the time the process is over to move into a house. I mean, for any of us, I mean, I'm an old guy, so that would be entirely possible. In the meantime, we're spending this money, and Greenville's going to die without an economy. I mean, to me, like, I mean, I ran for the housing seat because, one, it's crucial in Plumas County, but Plumas County is losing population. Greenville lost a whole lot of people, and we're losing population, and it's because there's no jobs, there's no economy. I mean, and so I mean, I've been kind of advocating for, let's figure out a way to, like, create some sort of other program to get people into houses. Giving away the parcels, a down payment assistance program, something that can attract particularly young people with families, start to start and live here, as opposed to people like me who wanted to live out the rest of their lives here. You know what I mean? Like, beautiful place. I'll just like be here. Because right now, I mean, if you want to have a career, you have to leave. Unless you're working in the Forest Service, for PRS, or for the hospital, or for the county, you had to leave. There's nothing. There's not even any retail here. So I think that's a really big consideration. It's like, out of this pot of money, this very tiny, $1.5 million is not a lot of money. I mean, it is, but it's definitely not. And so what are we doing to build the town, as opposed to just helping the most vulnerable survive? That's a worthy thing, but if you've only got so much, how do you do it so that the town lives? Because if we're just doing this long process of, okay, so it's a year before you get the money, and then it's another couple of years before they get the house. So 3 years we've stretched out. This money's gone. We spent all the money in, this $1.5 million is completely gone now. And what have we done to actually create an economy that's viable, where the town can actually live? So I think that's a really important question.
It is. Okay, Matt.
So just in terms of jobs, actually, unemployment rate is really low. If you try and find someone to work in your business, it's really hard. The mill has, I think, 60 or 70 open positions, and the county has, I don't know, 100 open positions. I think the reality is not that we need more jobs. I mean, if we want to fulfill these jobs, these open positions, we're going to need more people and more housing. But I really think that actually there's a lot of housing in Plumas County. I know personally that there's a lot of housing in Crescent Mills that's unused, is owned by typically retired people who don't live in Crescent Mills, owns the property, or they live in Crescent Mills, they own the property, but they're just very reluctant to sell it because it kind of belongs to the family, or very reluctant to rent it because they can only get $1,000 a month, and it's not worth the hassle, and they have to evict someone, so they just can't be bothered with it all, and it just sits empty. So we have a lot of empty houses like that, and then we have a lot of empty houses around the lake of people who don't live there, but they have these enormous houses. I don't think that the houses, I mean, sure, we could build more houses, but if they're going to remain empty or be rented out in other ways to other people, the problem is that the people don't have enough money who are living here to rent the houses that are available, to make it worthwhile for the owners of that property to actually rent it to them. I mean, there's right next to me is a house, it's a perfectly good rental house. It's empty, and there's 2 or 3 others like that in Crescent Mills. That if we could unlock that somehow, maybe we make a tax on empty houses. I mean, that would force people to either rent it out or sell it. I mean, we've got a county with, I mean, it's full of empty houses. I think the number of percent of empty houses around the lake is like 50%, something like that. I mean, I really don't think that the problem is lack of jobs or lack of houses. Like, we've got lots of jobs and there are houses around. We have to unlock them and make them available for the people who live here, either through subsidies or taxes on empty houses. But just building more houses, they're incredibly expensive to build. Like, to build a house in Greenville is like 600 grand, but you can buy a house in Indian Valley for 300 grand. But the economics of building more houses doesn't make actually any sense. So I think we have to think seriously about, one, like, in terms of the jobs thing, like, actually, when there's jobs available, there's plenty of jobs available. If people want those jobs, maybe people don't want to work for 30 bucks an hour for the county. Well, maybe that's a different issue. Or work for the mill for 30 bucks an hour. But there's plenty of jobs available, and there's plenty of houses available. But we have to make those houses available for the workers. And at the moment, those houses are not available for the workers because of this kind of class system of the rich and the poor. And the rich don't want to be bothered renting to the poor, and they have these beautiful houses. I mean, so it's there. Houses are there. Jobs are there, you know, but we have to just make the whole thing actually work for us. And then in terms of building new houses, at the moment, it's incredibly expensive to build new houses. And there is a solution which could be legalized tiny houses, which means we could import them. They only cost about $100,000 each, but it's illegal to do that, to have tiny homes on wheels. So I think there's legislative things that we can do, but wishing that houses were cheaper isn't going to happen. You know, like, there's no economic reason to build a house in Greenville. You'd spend $600,000 building a house in Greenville, and when you finished, it was going to be worth $350,000, like all the other houses in Indian Valley. So I don't think, like, there's just, the economics don't make sense for rebuild. But the reality is there are lots of jobs, and there are lots of homes. But we should work to try and unlock them through policies that force people to rent their homes. Or I mean, I just don't think we need more jobs. I don't think we need more empty like job openings. There's so many. If you had a company in Greenville and you wanted to hire 30 people, there's not 30 people in Greenville who would answer your job advert. It's just not going to happen, you know? Like, it's a very concern for me. Like, I want to open up something in Crescent Mills, but the ability to actually hire people in that area is going to be very, very difficult to hire like 10 people who are going to turn up, cook, clean, whatever, entertain. Like, it's going to be very, very, very difficult to get those people. And partly because the population is not, there's not young families, not young people working there. A lot of people retired, and that's just the reality, you know? So we've got to get realistic about what's going on in terms of jobs and housing, so we can get realistic about the solutions and efficiently spend this 1.4 million. Anyway.
Who's next, Dax or Greg?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say, it seems like the conversation's veering a little into maybe some stuff we're gonna possibly be talking at the strategic workshop that we're gonna be discussing on the next agenda item. And I was just wondering if we could kind of bring it back to the DCM discussion.
Good point.
Good idea. How about I make a motion to fund the DCMs 129 grand
For PRS?
for PRS, yeah.
Matt, at this stage, would you be comfortable making a motion to fund it for $64,731?
Okay, yeah. Okay, we'll do the 64, then you guys will get the other half. Okay.
And then we'll do 64. I mean,
Okay, yeah.
that's a friendly amendment.
Can we do this? I mean, like, we've got this concern, like, all of us have the concern that this thing's going to go on and on and on and on. And it's like, I think those needs will go on and on and on and on. I just don't think that these people are ever going to be in a position to really look after themselves as how we think they should. And so there's going to be that need. But if we want to kind of make a point that we want to move to, we want to fund other things. I mean, maybe we could be, as part of this, we'll fund 60, whatever it is, with the condition that this will last 6 months and then we're not going to consider this again. If we wanted to, I mean, that could be part of our funding, that this is it. We're giving you this money, but that's it. I mean, if we wanted to put that on there, is that something that we would want to add a little rider saying, hey, we'll fund it, but this is the last bite of the apple?
That's kind of what I'm inclined to, I don't know if we want to add that on to the motion or not, but I would echo that sentiment.
And it could also be part of your discussion in July when you have your strategic planning day of this is how much money we have left and this is where we really see it going, and be really clear that you don't see it continuing for case management or those types of things. You can even look at the big picture too on that day.
You're right. That would be the good time to discuss it, because then we've got more people as well. Because we may not have that many opportunities to spend money. I don't know what we're going to come up with in July. So maybe we're like, oh, we do want to put some more money in there. Yeah, that's kind of cutting off our options. All right. So how about I have a clean funding proposal to fund PRS with half of this money. So 64 and whatever the number you said.
$64,731.
Wait, 64, what?
64,731.
Okay, I propose that we should fund PRS with that amount.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we're going to vote individually. So Danny? All right. Greg?
Yeah, I'd like it if it had, this is the last bite of the apple clearly put in there, that it's time to wrap it up. I'd like to have that as part of it, as opposed to here's more money and you're coming back and we're going to have to go through this again. I'd like to not go through this again.
Right.
That's not part of the motion at hand, though. It's strictly about the money right now.
Matt?
Yes.
Shelby?
Yes.
Dax?
Yes.
Marcia, yes. Any opposed?
I don't think we got Greg's vote, a yes or no from Greg.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got really mixed feelings about it. I mean, I really understand and I have compassion, but I thought they were going to wrap it up 3 months ago. I really thought that when they came and asked for the money and they were duplicating services, oh, well, we're giving away food and we're giving away clothes. And we had, the store, the thrift store and the food bank in Greenville operating, and we're duplicating services. Okay, well, this is it. Okay, well, I'll fund it. And so I really.
So Greg, one point of clarification, when you and us funded that was just for the resource center. That was not for, you guys none of us have funded case management up till now. It's been 100% FEMA funded. So the grant that we did 3 months ago was for the Greenville or the Dixie Fire Resource Center that's located in Crescent Mills. And that pays for the person who works there and runs the giving away of food and items, but they don't do case management. So that will be wrapping up in 3 months. In 3 months, that resource center, the people that are employed there will no longer be employed there. They might keep it open with DCM people working in there, but that was a different proposal. The proposal you funded in February was for the just resource center. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So it will in 3 months, it might just be run by volunteers or, some part-time DCM sitting in there helping with things. But yeah, you guys funded it together. We each funded 50%. I think we each did like 35,000 for it.
Yeah,
like the $70,000 grant.
So Greg, what would your vote be?
Well, a reluctant yes, a very reluctant yes.
All right, so that passed. Let's
And
go.
I just would also like to reiterate that I think we should, have a discussion. It seems like maybe there's a consensus that this is kind of we all kind of feel like this is going to be it for the DCM program, and I think we should, you know, if that is the consensus, we should express that sentiment to PRS just so they know where we stand going forward.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
The idea was that we'd make that decision after the July offsite thing.
Yeah, I think that would be a good time to discuss that.
I mean, there, if we can divvy up the money, we've got 1.4 left, we're going to do 500 here, 200 here, 500 here, or whatever, then, I mean, it'll be really clear then, it'll be clearer if we can have those decisions, how we're going to deploy the cash. And some of that may be for PRS related stuff, maybe, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, the sentiment is no more.
Okay. So it's the next thing to talk about is, oh wait,
Marcia,
yeah.
one other point of order. Would you all mind just making an official motion and voting on the proposal from Northern Valley Catholic Social Services?
That we are not funding them.
Yeah, so if you're not going to fund it, could someone just make a motion to deny the proposal and vote on it? And then we document that in the back end of the grant agreement. So we always have it on record. Proposal was submitted, committee, and we'll do the same on our committee meeting too. What we wanted to see what you all wanted to do, but we'll do the same thing on Wednesday at our committee meeting.
So would someone like to make a motion that, yeah, Danny?
I make the motion to deny the North Valley Community Services proposal for disaster case management.
It's Northern Valley Catholic Social Services.
Northern Valley Catholic Social
Services, yeah.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, let's take a vote. Danny? And Greg?
Aye.
And Matt?
Yes.
And Shelby?
Yes.
And Dax?
Yes.
And Marcia? Yes.
Thank you.
All right, then let's go ahead and move on to the July scheduling for the steering committee strategic workshop. The recommended day was Monday, the 15th of July, up in Warner Valley from 9:30 to 1. So I know now that I can be there. So how about everybody else?
That works for me.
So Danny, yes. And how about Greg?
Greg's a yes.
Yes. And Matt
Yes.
and Shelby?
Malone.
Yes.
You know,
Okay.
there was a Malone.
And then Dax?
Yeah, that'll work for me.
Yeah, okay. That should be really worthwhile. All right, are there any committee member updates? Things that are happening that you know about that you'd like to tell us about?
Yeah, I can give you guys just a brief update of where we're at with the Indian Falls community water system. We did have an engineering company come out, North Star out of Chico, and they have initiated an engineering study for different parts of our water system. And based on those recommendations, when they're done with that, we'll be able to have a real clear picture of where we stand and what the different components of our repair and upgrade are going to cost, and just basically where we are with all that, and decide where we're going to go and what we're going to work on repairing. And that could also potentially, this engineering report could potentially give us a footing to pursue other modes of funding if we if we need that. So I know, I just wanted to give you guys an update. I know it's been a while since talked about it, and it's been a real long ongoing process, but we are slowly moving on that.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, it's good. And the engineers, they were fairly positive about just what it would actually take to get things up and running, which we were kind of surprised to hear. So that was positive, and yeah, we're looking forward to what they come back with.
Excellent. Anybody else have any updates?
Yeah, because I just have a question on that for clarification. Is that regarding the grant that was given to help repair the Indian Falls water system back
Yes.
a while ago? So that
it's-
money is still at Plymouth Stronger, and has not been spent yet, correct?
Correct. The majority of it has not been spent.
Okay.
A large chunk of that is going to go to this to the engineers when their study's done. And then we'll see where we stand after that. But yeah, you are correct.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
So I have an update from Frontier. So they're
Oh,
going to
good.
continue. They're back in town this week, and they're going to continue wiring up the valley. So they had some software challenges, but it's all happening. So we've got two engineers, I think, working around the valley.
And so where are they working?
I'm not exactly sure which area, but I know they're going to do Greenville first and get that finished, and then the rest of it, they laid the infrastructure to wire the whole valley all the way up Genesee as well. And then they've got some plan about how they're going to be turning it on, but there's fiber going like everywhere, so it's pretty cool.
There was somebody working on the lines, but that was the lines today on Main Street, that they'd be digging, right?
No, a lot
fiber's
of it's
above.
in the air. Yeah, they've done the undergrounding from Lake Almore down to Greenville.
Mhm. Yeah, I forgot to ask him, who are you? What are you doing? I said, you're working on the lines. And they said, yeah. I'll have to ask them. They're still there.
That's my only update.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I think I have the same question there, Matt, because I'm under the impression that fiber is above. They ran it above because they couldn't trench, because they didn't get anybody else to allow them into the trench. So that fiber's running by the house, and I think that's what Marcia, you saw it too. It's a fiber up on the poles.
Yeah, I
They
think
gotta
there
pull
is.
it
Yeah,
down.
yeah, I think you're right. I think it's that they did it above ground. Yeah.
Right. So there still is a challenge of pulling that down and get it wired to houses, and how that's going to work out.
Yeah. But that work is starting again. So
Right.
they were stopped for a few months.
Good.
so I have our next meeting is on Monday, July 1st. Make sure that that's on your calendar. We are going to New Jersey because my daughter's supposed to have a baby in the next week, and we're going to go see her, and we'll be on the plane that day flying. So we won't be there. Carry on without me.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. Okay. Yes, Danny?
Well, I held up because I didn't want to break in, but I want to think of it, talk about, and sternly, wholeheartedly object to even the idea of taxing people who have houses and are not lending them out, aren't loaning them out, aren't Airbnb-ing them or anything else. Any idea of doing that here, I think we should just stop. That whole idea is penalizing and claiming to say the rich against the poor, and I'll go into this, is that people with ancestral homes should not be told what to do with their ancestral homes. Maybe we can look at idea, and this is for further discussion, but it had to be taken, to my view, I had to address it now, is we can look at maybe incentivizing, helping other people to live in those houses, yes, but even the concept of promoting and going it to bat in legislation or whatever, getting Plymouth County to tax or penalize people who have homes that want their homes, go way back there. Your home is your castle. And anyway, and not to say rich people have castles. I don't want anybody to get to that either. But as you can say, this is a real strong button for me because we are rebuilding our ancestral home. And you're right, Matt, it's cost $1 gajillion to do so. And because it costs $1 gajillion, just because we're not there 365 days out of the year, we should not be told what we can do. But so that's the beginning of my piece.
Maybe find out from neighbors what the problem is, why the houses aren't being rented. Maybe they need help with another entity. Because there's entities that will take care of stuff, like take part of the rent, and then they will get the renters and all that kind of stuff.
In my view, the thing is, a lot of those homes need to be brought up to code and a few other things before they even can be rented. They're in pretty dire situation. And honestly, everybody take a spin around the towns and go around Crescent, take a look around Greenville. Some of those houses, yeah, they're vacant. If you start to go in there and look at them, they would have to be some serious work before they could even be rented. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right. Then I guess we're done. Thanks for everybody being here. And we'll see you.
Nice to see you
I'm
all.
soon.
Nice to meet some
Nice
of
to
you.
see you, Kim.
then.
Okay.
Thanks for your input.
Take
Appreciate it.
care, guys. Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for running the meeting, Mark.